Hey, what's up? I know it's been months since I last made a video, and I only just started my channel this year, but I'm back, and my name is Dylan, and I do a series on here. Basically, I like to travel on my days off. I haven't really had many days off in the last few months, and I'll get to that in a sec, but I like to search for records for music, and it's my passion, and it's a newfound passion over the last 2 or 3 years to collect vinyl again. Because when I was a kid, I collected a lot of Beatles stuff, and I kind of stopped. I took a little hiatus, and then I got a job at a record store, and now actually I'm the store manager at my childhood record store, which is insane because this record store, it's called Jack's Music Shop in Red Bank, New Jersey. It has been there for over 50 years, and showing up to work every day is a dream. It's like I don't care about going to work because it doesn't feel like work. It's my passion. The person who got me into the job that I work now, his name was Tim, and he worked at Jack's for years, and he was the face of the store. I became very close friends with Tim, and Tim sadly passed away this year from the debilitating disease called ALS, known as Lou Gehrig's disease. This has been a very turbulent year. There's lots of ups and downs, but I'm here now. I was motivated to make this video. It's been a while since I last made a video, like I said, but I was so determined to do this right now, and I need to do it. I lost my motivation to make videos for a while because it was such a weird year. You know, going through this loss was, I know I'm like smiling right now and I sound happy, but that's because it took time to get to this point. It was such a weird year. Man, it was such a weird year. And we'll just see how this goes. I just want to talk about basically some of the records that I got recently and say a little blurb about each, and we'll go from there, you know? Cool. Starting off fresh, we have Saving Grace by Robert Plant with Susie Diane. Am I saying that right? Yeah, Susie Diane, right? Robert Plant basically went onto a folk sort of route with his recent endeavors. He played on, and here's a really cool red colored vinyl. He played on the Outlaw Festival 2 years ago with Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, etc. And he is actually playing in close to my hometown in Red Bank, New Jersey in April, and I'm fortunate enough to be going. My mom got tickets for me, Julia, my fiance, and herself. So it's really cool. But basically, this record is just a lot of phenomenal traditional songs. There's a lot of blues tracks, like Soul of a Man, Blind Willie Johnson. That's a standout track. As I roved out, that's, you know, we got the Rover, Led Zeppelin, roved out. I don't know. He likes to talk about roving, I guess, whatever that means. But this record is just from start to finish a trip. And Robert Plant's voice as it sits is like, it's aging like, you know, like a whiskey or something like that. I know it's like a cliche thing to say, but he doesn't have that range like he had back when he started with Led Zeppelin, like everyone expects. And I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, I just want to see Robert Plant as I remember him. I don't want to see him play all this folky stuff. But you know, everything comes back around, and the songs that Led Zeppelin, the band that obviously Robert Plant became famous by, started off with these kind of songs, you know, like traditional songs. And you can make the argument that like Led Zeppelin stole stuff, whatever. I don't care. I think they sit as their own entity. I think that they're an untouched band. And I really enjoyed this record. I really enjoyed it. And it was definitely a great purchase. Speaking of Led Zeppelin, I didn't have a copy of this, Houses of the Holy. And this just so happens to be a early pressing. And you could tell by the bottom of the label, it doesn't have this little logo for the Atlantic sign. And the later pressings, you could tell the bottom here is different. It's more modernized. I don't know how to describe it, but this was actually a Robert Ludwig pressing. And Robert Ludwig, this pressing in particular, is not as, it's still a sought after pressing, don't get me wrong, but it's not as sought after as the Led Zeppelin 2 Robert Ludwig or RL cut. It's the loud cut of the record. And that version of the record is so sought after simply because when you play it on your stereo system, when you put it on the record player, it is so loud. And the way that it was mixed is different from the way that you would experience it now when you put a CD on or whatever. It's just so much louder than what we're used to hearing. And that's why Led Zeppelin 2 and RL pressing, if you see in the matrix on this, like in the groove of the record, if you see RL on Led Zeppelin 2, you could get, you have a very rare record, basically. That's, some people sell it for a lot of money. I've seen a few in my time working at a record store, and I've sold one of them, and basically as soon as I posted it online, somebody came in and snatched it up. It's like, it's a cool thing, you know, but I'm very stoked to own this. I think this is one of my favorite Led Zeppelin albums. The cover art is phenomenal. The Crunge is such a cool song with that weird keyboard thing going on, that funk. Song Remains the Same, Rain Song, Over the Hills and Far Away. What else we have? Dancing Days, Stone Temple Pilots. I got the Scott Weiland shirt. They covered that song. Your Maker, it's just a play on the word Jamaica. No Quarter and The Ocean. Like, this album is just, there's a lot of untouched Led Zeppelin records, and this just adds to it. It's like such a great band. Another really cool record that I got my hands on recently, on a whim, I found an original pressing of Introducing the Beatles. This is a weird one to collect. It's a really weird one to collect. There are a few telltale things that you can spot. I know when I first started collecting Beatles, people were like, oh, you could see George's shadow here. That's a big thing to find an early pressing, because there's a lot of pressings of this that are counterfeit. People bootlegged it, and you know, because this was the album that started everything in the US on the VJ label. But this pressing in particular has the song Love Me Do ending side one. And usually you see what is it? Ask Me Why. That's what ends the side. And I still, this album I have to rack my brain around to know the logistics and details of the track listing and the things that make it bootleg or not bootleg. I know I'm like a huge Beatles fan, but I'm just like haven't racked my brain around this one too much yet. But as far as Discogs says, because that's the website I use a lot to grade stuff and to look up stuff. This version of the record checks out to be an early pressing. You could tell the name is over the spindle hole, introducing the Beatles, and in the groove, in the dead wax, it says the date that this album was, I guess, I don't know what the date means, but it's an early date. I can't see it right now, but I think it says 64 or 63. Yeah, that's what it says, 63. Does it say 64? I don't know. Something like that. But I might be totally wrong with that information. Don't quote me on that. But for all I know, there could be a bigger Beatles fan than me watching this video and be like, oh, that's not a real pressing just from looking at it. I don't know, but I want to believe that it's real. I'm not going to sell the thing. It's for my collection. I really don't care. But I thought it was so cool to own this piece of history because this was what a lot of people first saw before they really broke it with Meet the Beatles or the official UK counterpart with the Beatles, or not, I'm wrong, Please Please Me. And that is a rare record with the gold text on the label. That's really rare. Here's a cool unofficial release that we got, and they did the Revolver artwork for Paul here. We have a cool John Lennon artwork there, you see. Yeah, there's John. And this is called A Toot and a Snore in 74. And it's basically an insane jam session that happened in 1974 with John and Paul. And as the hype sticker reads, a classical example of tune in, turn on, drop out. This mystified session was recorded in 74, and it's basically a drug-infused meeting of John Lennon and Paul McCartney after the Beatles' breakup. And Lennon was producing Harry Nilsson's album Pussycats at the time, and Paul and Linda dropped the first night of the sessions at Burbank Studios. Nilsson, Stevie Wonder, Jesse Ed Davis, May Pang, Mal Evans, Bobby Keys, and producer Ed Freeman had a jam session, and this is what came out of it. That's basically all you need to know. There's a lot of weird stuff on here, if you could read that. It was basically, this probably, they didn't know this was going to exist when they made it. It shouldn't exist, but it does. And it's a cool unofficial release that I found from one of my distributors, actually, that I order from, which is awesome. It's Life Goes On Records. But yeah, I listened to this very briefly in the morning before work, and I don't think I was quite ready to listen to it yet because it was so early. I'm going to have to give this a good listen through the speakers soon, but this is definitely a cool piece. I'm going to talk about this record right here, Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. For some odd reason, I don't know, maybe they released a movie recently or something about this, the creation of this record. They did. This album is kind of sought after right now, and it's hard to come by. This is on the Columbia label. It has the, the label of that time period. And this album was basically, people say Springsteen does Suicide, which was, Suicide, if you're not aware, was a group. Did some pretty crazy stuff back in the day, Alan Vega. A lot of screaming, a lot of electronics. and Bruce Springsteen was inspired by them. I don't think that's the complete explanation for this record. I think he had a lot of pent up stuff going on at this time period, and he wrote a very desolate and hopeless, but hopeful at the same time record, because right after this, Born in the USA came out, which is, that's a whole nother story. But Born in the USA and Nebraska are completely different records. I've never been into Bruce Springsteen's music. I mean, the hits are, they're on the radio all the time. I listen to them. I've met Bruce Springsteen a number of times, and he's a really great dude. Seriously, super down-to-earth person. I'm fortunate enough to work at the record store that he frequents. And, you know, it's just like, this record is so, it's such a cult classic, and especially people in New Jersey, they love the song Atlantic City because, you know, Atlantic City is a town in New Jersey, but, or city in New Jersey, sorry. But, yeah, just the whole color scheme, the black and white with the red, it's, this whole album is a vibe. And song Nebraska, Johnny 99, Highway Patrolman, State Trooper. It's just really great record, and you need to be in the right mindset to listen to it. And if you saw the movie Deliver Me From Nowhere, that's a pretty great movie. I watched it super late at night, and the vibe was just there. It was just, you know, it really hit me. And you could tell Bruce Springsteen was going through some stuff in this time period. So this is definitely a cool one to own. So next up, we have After the Gold Rush by Neil Young. This album, another black and white album cover with the gold juxtaposed. This was on Reprise Records. This is a perfect record in my opinion. You have some songs on there. Let's see. Tell Me Why, After the Gold Rush. Only Love Can Break Your Heart, Southern Man. It's just, those 4 songs are just perfect in my eyes, and the rest is just as perfect. I really was into Neil Young when I was a teenager, and I dug his stuff in a, you know, major way. I was into the grunge thing, and I know people deemed him as the godfather of grunge, whatever the fuck that means. I don't know. But this record is so good. And if you have not listened to After the Gold Rush by Neil Young, there's piano ballads, there's, you know, southern rock on there, there's hard rock on there, whatever. Such a great record. And I actually came back to this album because my friend Connor got me into this website that makes you listen to an album in full, and this one popped up, and I was like, oh yeah, that's such a good album. So I listened to it, I found a copy on vinyl, and, you know, I'm having a great time. I'm going to talk about one more at the current moment, and I don't have the record in here because it's on the record player. This is Manfred Mann, The Mighty Quinn. And this was actually, I just love the album artwork on that. Bob Dylan wrote The Mighty Quinn, Quinn the Eskimo, that song. And as you well know, I don't know, maybe you don't know, but you could tell I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. This album is just, you know, 60s garage, a little psychedelic. It's just got that vibe. And it's a really good record if you just want to groove out and listen to some rock and roll from the 60s, you know? And cool cover art does not hurt. Definitely helps. But I just listened to this record in depth for the first time tonight, and I'm gonna have to give it another, you know, solid listen soon to have a complete opinion on it. But It's a great one. So that's basically all I'm going to talk about right now. Just getting back into this. Let me know if you're watching this, if there's anything you want me to discuss. Also, I do work at a record store. I had an idea of making videos at the store as I get a new product, new used product, to make some videos for that. Maybe I'll link it in with the music store. Who knows? I'm inspired by a lot of stuff on YouTube that I see, and I have all these ideas in my head that I want to bring into fruition. So let's see what happens. Cool. I hope everyone has an amazing new year, 2026. This is a big year for me. I'm getting married in June, actually, to the person who I love most. And yeah, we'll just see what happens, you know? It's a day-to-day thing. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.